Hey everybody. Um, let's get back to this. Um, all right, so this is where we left off yesterday. We're still on bacteria. We're almost done with this section, and then we can have a short test over bacteria and then get on to viruses. So hopefully you've been keeping up with your reading. You've been going over these videos. You've really read the book and done all the questions and looked over all the answers that I've posted on Plus Portal. This is where you guys have to hold yourself accountable and make sure you go over everything. When you're doing school online, it's easy to just hurry up and do something and forget about it. You still have to study. You still have to go over things. You still have to read at night and stuff. All right, so let's go with this. We talked about this one yesterday. Some bacteria cause disease. Some, as you saw in the video yesterday, are good bacteria and help us, and some are bad. So, bacteria can cause disease by invading tissues or making toxins. A toxin is a poison released by an organism. Okay, so I'm sure you all remember the Chipotle had E. coli in some of their food. The lettuce outbreak that we had, like what 2 years ago, you couldn't eat any romaine lettuce, and that was E. coli, which is a bacteria. And it's funny because E. coli is actually in our stomach right now, and it's a good bacteria in our stomach. But when we have different E. coli, it's bad. So this is an example of bacteria causing disease, and a lot of people died over that or had kidney problems and stuff like that. So there are some bad. And then we had that Bluebell had listeria, and so that was a bad one too. So bacteria can be bad, obviously. Bacteria also cause disease by destroying body tissues. So this would be like flesh-eating bacteria. Okay, and then these little bacteria in here, this is cocci, so this is staph. This is MRSA, which is methicillin resistant staph aureus. That's what MRSA stands for. That's a really bad bacteria you can get in the hospital sometimes. And then you can also get it like staph, and it can eat away your tissues. Bacteria can secrete digestive enzymes that break down tissue for its nutritional value. So basically, the bacteria secretes a digestive enzyme that basically eats away and it breaks down your tissues. Gross. Okay. All right. I'm sure you'll love this juicy video or picture. Normally, harmless bacteria can become destructive and they can colonize new tissues. So, this is an example of bad bacteria. All right, so your immune system may be lowered also. So, like acne is actually is because of a bacteria. It can give you all of these things, and I had rosacea, which actually gives me adult acne, and I had to take doxycycline for it, and so that's an antibiotic, so that helps. Anthrax is Bacillus anthracis. This one can actually cause trouble, and this is also they're really scared about using this as a weapon of mass destruction. Lyme disease, which is become because you got bit by a tick. These can cause rash, aching, fever, swelling of joints. Tetanus, if you step on something like a rusty nail or a wound infected with the soil, this is actually in the soil of the rusty nail and stuff like that. You can actually get lockjaw where everything spasms up. That's bad. Clostridium, it's Clostridium tetani. And then tooth decay. Tooth decay is actually from a bacteria. And so this is Streptococcus mutinus. This is tooth cavity. So this is why you have to floss in between, because that bacteria sits in the between your bacteria. And normally people just have this or they don't. And if they're not good hygiene, they get more. So, oops. Bacteria are used to fight bacterial. Antibiotics are used to fight bacterial diseases. Antibiotics may stop bacterial cell wall formation, so it makes that so it can't form that special endospore wall formation. Antibiotics do not work on viruses as they do have a cell wall. Viruses don't have a cell wall. So antibiotics do not work on viruses. So you can't get an antibiotic for the flu or the cold or something like that. So prevention is the best way to fight bacterial diseases and viruses, but we're not really going over that part. But prevention is actually the best way. Antibiotics affect bacteria by interfering with certain cellular activities. So penicillin blocks the ability to build new cell wall formation, so it can't build new ones. And tetracycline blocks protein synthesis, so making protein. So this is more like on how it works on a cellular level, because there's a million different antibiotics, and they have to prescribe. If you have an ear infection, they can't use the same antibiotic that they would use for strep in an ear infection. It's different. And so this is why if you have old antibiotics laying around from another previous infection, you can't use it on another infection because it might not work for that infection. Ear infection, strep, or something like that, it doesn't work on, antibiotics don't work the same way on those different infections. So it's really important that you take all of your antibiotics when you're supposed to, and don't take any more later, and make sure you use the right one that's prescribed for you. All right, so antibiotics are made naturally by some fungi and bacteria, and they kill neighboring bacteria which are competing for resources. Antibiotics kill more than one type of organism and are called a broad spectrum antibiotics. So right here, this is a bacteria, and then this is the antibiotic right here, and you can see that it's basically killing it around. This is what you do in microbiology with Miss Schneider. It's so cool. But a broad spectrum antibiotics can be like a Z-Pak or something like that, and it can be used on many different organisms. Doesn't mean it works on every infection, but it works on a broader spectrum of them. This one right here is H. pylori. This causes ulcers. Everyone always thinks that ulcers are caused by stress and stuff, and they kind of are, because when you're so stressed, your immune system goes down, and so then this bacteria, H. pylori, comes in. It's Heliobacter pylori. And so normally what happens is this is the bacteria, an antibiotic is applied, it dies, okay? But then there's mutant bacteria, which doesn't produce an enzyme, and so when you put antibiotics on it, it actually still lives, okay? So this is where when antibiotics become resistant like this to antibiotics, you can't use the antibiotics you've been using on that disease. So a lot of sexually transmitted diseases are becoming resistant to antibiotics, mainly because of overuse of antibiotics, and also because people don't take it the right way. You have 10 days of antibiotics, you feel better after 5, so you stop taking it, and then later, because you didn't really kill it all, and then later you go back in 3 weeks or something and they put you on another antibiotic. Well, that's what's causing all this. Not taking the antibiotic correctly for the entire time, and then using antibiotics too much. So this one right here is a biology joke. So it says, kid, want a superbug? Stick some of this into your genome, and even penicillin won't be able to call you. So this is like that recombination. So this one right here is giving you a recombination. It's making it in your genome so that you'll be resistant to antibiotics, and so they won't work. That's bad for us, really good for the bacteria. Oops. Okay, bacteria can evolve resistant to antibiotics. Many resistant genes are now present on the R plasmids, which can pass easily between bacteria through transformation. The R plasmids now carry resistance to multiple antibiotics. Here's what I want you to know. Okay, so here is the bacterium with the R plasmid right here, okay? And this is the donor's nucleus. These come together and they make it more resistant to the antibiotics. So when this is included in here to make this green one, it makes it more resistant to antibiotics. Most emerging diseases develop when infections agents pass from wild animals to humans. This is the case of the coronavirus, but that's a virus, but it happens with diseases too. So this type of disease coming from animals to humans is called zoonosis. Okay, you're going to hear a lot of, if you read about corona and how it started, you're going to talk about zoonosis. So Lyme disease is reemerging because um, it's a lot of these are because we are now populating untouched natural areas. So we're getting bit by ticks more often, mosquitoes. We're coming in contact with all these things that now are giving humans these diseases. So there's a lot of these: West Nile, Zika, um, Lyme disease, Rocky Mountain spotted fever. Um, what are and Corona is actually one of them, but that's a virus. So um, there's just a whole bunch of them. So this is getting to be a real big problem. All right, let's talk about food. Foodborne illnesses can be a major public health hazard. Improper preparation, handling, and storage of food may cause some cases of foodborne illnesses in the U.S. This would be the case with Chipotle. So this one right here is E. coli 0157H7. This is the one that caused the problems with the romaine lettuce about 2 years ago. Can cause serious illnesses and complications such as kidney damage. So this is what was so bad about it. It's usually caused by eating uncooked and contaminated hamburger meat, but it also, they found it in the lettuce because what happened is that cows went into the lettuce field and pooped on the lettuce, and then it got into the soil. So that's what caused it. Because again, animals are encroaching on us, and we're encroaching on the animals. So this is why even eating a hamburger, you should always eat a well-done hamburger, not an undercooked hamburger. Steak is different. You can eat steak medium rare, but hamburger should always be well done. In 2006, the E. coli H157H7 strain was found in spinach on 26 states. Investigators in the CDC initially speculated that the dangerous strain of bacteria 175H7 originated from irrigation water contaminated with cattle feces or from grazing deer. So this is happening more and more now. This was talking about a long time ago, but this is happening more and more. More recently, 60 people in 14 states were sickened by E. coli due to Chipotle. 2 separate outbreaks in August and December. This was like a couple years ago. The last one was reported in December 1, and I think this was 3 years ago. Most people were hospitalized, and most cases were concentrated in the Pacific Northwest. But since I wrote this, or this was written, we've had Chipotle happen again. We've had the romaine lettuce thing. We've had, I think there was another lettuce one recently. So this happens a lot. And then Bluebell ice cream. So to avoid these foodborne illnesses, choose only fresh, clean foods. Wash raw fruits and vegetables. Wash hands, kitchen towels, and kitchen utensils often. If you use a sponge, make sure you pop a wet sponge in the microwave for a minute every so often, like daily, because it'll kill all the germs. Keep raw and cooked food separate. And did you know the dirtiest thing in your whole house is your kitchen sink, not the toilet seat? Those are pretty clean. It's the kitchen sink or your phone. That's pretty bad too. Or a grocery store handle. Those grocery store handles have poop all over them. All right. Oh, and always refrigerate raw fruits. Okay, we're done. Thanks.